you're going to want to make sure the aspect ratio, which is a ratio between the width and the height, is the same between the photograph and the canvas. So in this case, we have a, a photograph and a canvas with two different aspect ratios. So the photograph is a square, so it's going to have an aspect ratio 1 to 1. Okay, and this rectangle, I don't know the aspect ratio, but I would say since the width is longer than the height, it's likely like a 1 to a 1.5. And this is what could happen if you have a photograph and a canvas with different aspect ratios. Okay, you could be left with white bars on either side when you blow up the image. Okay, so in this case, you could say, oh, well, we could stretch the image. We could try that. But then you're left with a distorted image. So in this case, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to cut off a little from the top, okay, or a little from the bottom, or a little from the top and the bottom. So if the aspect ratio is the same, like in this case, then this is what's going to happen when you enlarge your image into your painting. Okay, it's going to fit without distortion or without white bars on either side. So this is the application that you can use to crop your photo, and this is online. So if you go to hornell.com/app/photocrop, you could use this online application to crop your photos. You could also use Photoshop. You could also do it by hand, but this is the method I'll show you. So you're gonna want to choose your photo. Okay, then once you have your photo chosen, then what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to go to where it says aspect ratio, and you're going to want to have user definition on, and you're going to put the size of your canvas. You're going to put 14 by 18 if it's 14 by 18, or 14 by 17 if it's 14 by 17. And once you have that, it might take a minute, but then it's going to, okay, have it at 14 by 17. And do you see how, I'll go like this, and maybe you can zoom up a little bit so you see it a little better. But do you see how it just crops that whatever area that's highlighted? And you can make the box smaller, okay, you can make it bigger and whatnot, and choose the section you want to crop, okay, and be mindful and continue to consider negative space, okay, that's the area around the subject. Those are shapes just as much as these positive shapes. Also consider the lines within the composition. You know, where's your eye being drawn? Okay. So because you have to realize you're going to be working on this for a month, so really be very mindful on the photo you choose and how you compose it. You're composing by cropping. Now, if you want to do it in portrait, I'd suggest not using these buttons. I tried using them, they didn't work too well. You could just switch the aspect ratio backwards, and it'll make it into landscape or portrait, depending on which one you had first. You see how that works? So that's how you change it to between portrait and landscape. You just switch it around. Okay, and we go back to portrait by switching it this way. Sometimes it takes a second to load, but there you go. So, and then once you have, you know, the composition, how you want it, how you want to crop it, then what you're going to do is you're going to go to crop and download. And it says right click the image and then click save picture as. Once you have your image cropped how you want it, then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to print it out. And if you have a, or I'll type it in, if you have a 14 by 17 inch canvas, you want to print your photo out at 7 inches by 8.5 inches. if you have a 14-inch by 18-inch canvas, you're going to want to print your photo out at 7 by 9 inches. And the reason I give you these dimensions for the photo is because it's half the height and half the width of the canvas. And the reason that this will make it easier is because when you go to grid and you go to transfer your drawing, you're going to be doubling the squares onto your canvas, and that'll make it simpler. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to place your photo into a Word document, and you're going to want to stretch it so that it goes into those dimensions. And since I'm using a 14 by 17 inch canvas, then I'm going to make it 7 by 8.5 inches. And what you'll realize in this case, I need to flip it sideways. So you're going to rotate it to fit into the paper. Okay, and I'm going to get it so that it's 7 by 8.5. Now, if you have any trouble with this, just message me, and then we could do a Zoom share screen, and I could help you do it. It's possible you have another word processor, and it should work in that word processor as well. But if you're having trouble, just message me, and we can set up a Zoom session. And then once you have it like that, in the correct size, then you go File and Print, and you're gonna print it. And then once you print it, make sure it comes out in the right size. Make sure it hasn't been shrunken.